done is I have one of these little powder tools, the EK powder tools, but I don't know. I always feel like I'm not getting the powder out and stuff like that. So what I did was I emptied some of this powder in a little container, and I just take a paintbrush and just kind of dab some powder on here, and then I'm going to rub it across here, because I feel like then I know I'm getting my anti-static powder on there, because I'm trying not to forget to do this step. Because that's one of the steps I always seem to forget is my anti-static. Yeah, the tool head is pretty small, and I can never, I'm always like going crazy putting it on, because I'm like, is it on? Is it on? So I decided to try this out, and it worked great. So yeah, there was no problem there. It works really good. And I'm using the Misty because it's just nice to get everything in place. And if you need to re-stamp it, you can. Alright, so I'm going to lay my stamp where I want it, which is going to be right about here. Yeah, that looks good. I kind of want to center it. Let's see. Take a black mat out of the Misty for thicker stamp. Yeah, if you have thicker stamps. This is not too thick a stamp. This is a regular clear photopolymer stamp. So it should be no trouble. And I have my little embossing ink here, which I love for when I'm using just like the little words and stuff. And then I'm going to use this big Versamark, which is also nice and juicy, and ink up my stamp real good so I get a nice coverage. Like what I say, what's nice about the Misty, and I'm not, you know, I bought my own Misty. I didn't get it from them. It's not a promotion through them or anything. But what I like is then I can re-stamp it if I need to. But most times, it usually works fine. Alright, so I'm just going to press this down. And it's a bigger stamp, so I'm going to kind of go all around just to make sure I get it all. And I think I did. Let's see if I can see anything. I think it's good. Maybe I'm going to do it one more time just because I can't see it too good. And that's what's nice about this Misty, is I can do it again. Yeah, this size is really nice. I love this flower too, and this would fit on an A2 size card. All right, so we've got that done. I'm just going to set this aside. Put on my embossing powder. Let's see. Yeah, my embossing powder right here. I've got some Brutus Monroe. I'm just going to cover the whole flower there. All right, and we'll tap that off. Oh, we got a beautiful impression because we got all our embossing static powder on there too. Yeah, I know some people are using the DVD case too, so that's awesome. Yeah, that'd be great for classes for sure, because not everybody, you know, has a big Misty to use. So actually I got a little excess powder here, and I usually just use a brush to swipe it away. Okay, now we're going to heat this up. And I know I'm moving a little slower. Got to get my feet wet again here. Let's heat this up and see the magic happen where we get to see what we have. And we're doing white on white, but that's because we're using it basically as a mask so that our flower stays white, and then we see the watercolor through it. You don't like sharing some tools? Alright, it's starting to emboss, turning to a nice liquid there. It's going to be so fun. You're going to love this. So how many of you have Zig clean color brush markers? You guys have them? Or who has Tombow? Who has clean color real brush markers? Because you can do the same thing with both. Oh, you do? Oh, great. Do you guys use them a lot? You guys getting the hang of them? Oh, you just ordered them. Awesome. I have not tried the Tombow. I'd like to try those sometime. Alright, so I'm just going to let this cool just a little bit. Do you love them so much? Yeah, they're really fun, and you just got to take the time to play with them and, you know, get to know them a little bit, do different techniques. Let me move this aside so I don't dump it all over. You're learning right now? Oh, well, good. This will be a good video or Periscope for you. So you can, I don't know if you can see that. See the shine? There's our embossing powder all ready for us. I just want to make sure it's not sticky. Okay, it's nice and dry. So now we're going to saturate our paper. Now you could use, you know, a bottle of water and spray it. Because what I want to do, we're going to do this part here, which is the background. And we want it to be loose, and we want the pigments to really spread across the page here. Okay, so you can just take a big brush and saturate your paper and go right over all that embossing that we just did. Okay, then I'm going to take my little plastic that I have, and I'm going to go with my lighter pink right now. And what I did was I made these little swatches on the tops so that I can see what it looks like when it's without water and what it looks like with water. So you see it's a lighter pink with the water. And I'm just going to scrub some in this little plastic tray. I'm going to scrub some of the pink and some of the orange in here. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush, like a smaller one, and I'm going to add the water to it. And I'm just going to go around here and add some pink around my flower and within it in different spots. And you can see it's just kind of running around the page. Then I want to add a little bit of the orange maybe in here as well, and kind of run it around. And I think actually this is a different orange that I am using than I used earlier, but it'll work. This is a more pinky orange than the orange I showed you on the sample one, but it'll be fun to see how this orange looks. All right, and I'm going to rub a little through the flower, and you're just going to let it bleed around the paper. Okay, and get a little at the bottom here. And then if you get some where you don't want it, or you just want to, you can just take a paper towel, because I got a little at the top. I want it a little whiter there. I'm just going to blot around the top area just so I have a certain look that I'm going for. And you can see, look how pretty already it's getting. And if you have something, a darker spot that you don't want, you can add just a little bit of water to it. And you can see we already have like a real pretty pastel look to it. So I'm going to hit this with my heat gun now because I like the way this looks. Okay. And I'm going to heat from both sides. Oh, I should tell you what orange I'm using. That's not the orange I originally used, though. Isn't that so funny? Let's see here. I don't know if I could find that other orange. I really like that color. Because this is more of a pink on pink. And I had kind of a burnt orange. Maybe this was it. We're going to add a little of this, maybe. Hey, from Detroit. Linda, how are you? And then, just so it doesn't warp as much, turn it around. Back and forth a little bit. And then if you get like a spot where you get kind of a line, a water line, you can just add a little more water to it to disperse that. Because I got, you know what I'm talking about, a little line that you get sometimes. I added a little water and then just dabbed it a little bit. Where did I get this heat gun? I got this one at Hobby Lobby. It's just an inexpensive one. I'm going to test this color orange here. I think this was the orange I was using. Okay, I'm going to add a little of this orange now. So I guess maybe I should tell you what pink I used. This one is called, let's see, Light Violet. That's the first color I used. And this, believe it or not, looks like it's orange, but when you put it down here, you can see it has more of a pink tone to it. And that's, this one is called Scarlet Red. Isn't that interesting? The colors always fool you. So the one that I wanted to originally use, I believe, is, let's see here, Bright Yellow. All right, we're going to put a little of that in there as well. So I'm going to put a little more water on here so I can put a little of that yellow on. And like I say, just play with it. It'll give you a good idea. Yeah, there we go. A little yellow on there. That'll be pretty. And just play with things. Isn't that pretty? It kind of gives it a nice springy look to it. I'm going to dab a little of that off here. And then heat that up. Isn't that looking pretty? What do you guys think? I got a little, and if you get a little excess water, you can just dab it up a little bit with your paper towel. But I'm going for a nice pastel at this point. Yeah, isn't that pretty? I'm using, this is a watercolor, Cansen's 140 pound paper. Yeah, the colors are so soft when you do it this way. Let me turn it around so I don't warp this up too much. On mixed media, yes, I have. They work just as good, I would say, on mixed media paper as they do on the watercolor paper. All right, so now we've got, you could almost, you know, go with that and put, you know, like some Wink of Stella in here if you wanted just a real pastel-y card. Pastel-y. When will the set be released? Oh, okay. The sets will actually be released right around April 8th. I got to get the exact date, but that's the date we're looking at. But I will have pre-orders starting Wednesday or Thursday, and I will definitely get on here to let you know. So now I'm going to take that lightest color that I used a little bit ago, this, what was it, light violet, and I'm going to now go directly on my paper with the brush pen, and I'm going to go around my edges a little bit here because I just want to give, and then I'm going to wet that and pull it down. I'm going to come into the flower here and there, and you'll see how this works. And this, you know, if you do it in little steps like this, it's going to make it look like you are a really amazing watercolorist. Let's see here. I'm just kind of randomly putting some around the edges, and then you can always add more. Can you guys see this all right, or should I zoom in a little bit? Now I'm going to use my brush, not too wet, and I'm going to come in here and start pulling the color down a little bit. I'm moistening that, what I just put on, and pull it into my flower. And you can just smush it around, as you can see here, and it'll start moving in your flower. And what's nice about when you emboss it this way is you kind of keep your color in the lines a little bit easier. It's a little easier to kind of creates a little well around the edge. And I'm just pulling this color down with a little water. Hi, Denise. Thanks for joining. And this is going to start looking like a little bit more of a watercolored flower. Now you could do it quicker and maybe just do, you know, 2 colors or something like that. But I really had a lot of fun doing this and adding, you know, a variety of colors to it and just kind of playing with it. But if you were creating a whole bunch, you could, and if you go outside your lines too, you can just dab a little extra water on the outside of that edge and blend it in. All right, so now we've got some of this soft, pretty pink, okay? And I'm going to just hit that with my heat gun again. Because if you dry the layers, then they won't spread as much into your next color, but they will all blend together. It just kind of sets it a little bit. And I'm going to do the same to my little bud here. I'm going to add a little of this violet in here. And just kind of spread that around to soften it. And hit that with the heat gun too. It takes a little practice, but if you could actually use my tutorials as a step-by-step to make something like this too, and just take your time and pause it and keep going. I'm glad I make it look easy. Thank you so much. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little of the yellowy orange, which I still don't have the orange I really wanted. This is more yellow. What did I do with that orange? Getting finicky about it, right? Let's see, I'm going to test this orange. Maybe this is the orange I originally wanted. Let's see here. You can see, do I have a little piece of paper? Ah, this is the orange I wanted. Okay. We're going to move those aside. So the orange I used originally that I really like with these pinks are, let's see, this one is, wait, that's the bright yellow. I'm so confusing myself now. Isn't this crazy? Let's see, scarlet red, so this must be it here. Orange, it's called orange. Okay. Don't you love when you do stuff like that? The writing is so small. What writing is so small? Oh, on these pens, I know, right? You're like, which one would I want to use? Okay, so now I'm going to take some of this orange, and I am going to brush just a little bit in here, just a little here and there, just to add a little extra color, because I think that orange and the pinks go so nicely together. If I'm missing your comments, oh, thank you. I'm looking down for a minute here. And I'm just going to add a little orange through some of these petals. These are Zig Clean Brush, Clean Color Brush Markers. That's what they are. It's a mouthful. Oh, yeah, catch the replay if you can't stay. Oh, see, look at that orange with that pink. Isn't that really pretty? And so I'm just going to now blend that orange into these pinks a little bit. And just kind of blend it around. It is such a mouthful, isn't it? That clear Zig, clean brush markers. It's crazy. And if you lose too much of your pink, don't worry. You can add it back in, which is something we're going to do with the darker pink. But I love the contrast and the blending of these colors. I think it makes for a really pretty flower, because in real life, most flowers you'll see will have a variation of oranges and yellows within their petals, because as the flower ages, the petals change colors a little bit as the flower goes through its stages. Okay, looking pretty. And now we've got a little of that orange in there. I'm going to add a little bit of orange into our bud. Not too much, and you can see, look at how little I put in there. I don't know if you can see that. See how little? You don't need much. Yeah, I bought mine from Amazon too. And you'd be surprised too at how little you need. Sometimes you'll think it's a little bit, and it puts so much of that color down. You're like, oh my gosh, I lost my other color. But then, like I said, you can go back in and add more of your pink again even later. So this is kind of just laying down some color. Isn't that looking pretty? And then I'm going to give this a little dry. And then we're going to go with a darker pink on that. So we're giving this flower a lot of dimension. Alright, we don't have to dry it all the way, but I wanted to get it pretty dry there. Now I'm going to go in with this darker purple, it's called, but it really comes out as kind of a pink. I don't know if you can see that when you add the water. It's very dark as a solid, and then it lightens up a little bit depending on how much water you use. So I'm now going to take this darker color, and I'm going to add it more at the base of my petals, and then maybe draw a little bit up. And you can see I'm just going to add a little bit here and there at the base of my flower, at the base of all these little petals. And then, like, this is a petal behind a petal, so I'll add a little in there. Maybe draw it up a little bit in here, and then this back one a little bit. Put some in here, just kind of dabbing it here and there. And then we'll see what we have as we pull it through. Okay, so let me grab a little water, and I'm going to pull up this deeper color into it. And you can see how much that pops once you start putting it on. It's amazing how much color that this little bit that I added will go. it just really pulls. That's why you want to be careful not to use too much. When I first started playing with these, I think I was using way too much of the marker, and things would get so much darker than I really wanted them to be because I was just so used to needing to add more color. You want me to zoom in a little bit? Okay. Let's see here. Let me zoom in. And hopefully I'll stay in the screen. Let me know if I pop out or not. Okay, so I'm just going to draw these in here. Oh, good. Okay. And you can see how the color is all blending together. And these colors, I just think, complement each other so well. And it makes you look like an expert watercolorist just by adding little dabs here and there. Isn't that fun? And you can see it's pretty easy, not too difficult. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you guys like it. All right, and then I am going to do the same thing and add a little to this bud. And I'm just going to, oh, I grabbed the lighter color. I'm going to add it a little to the base here, just a tiny bit, because it is really going to pop up there. So let's see, once we add the water, and you can always dab it off if you get a little too much. Or if like I got a big thing of water there, I can sometimes sop it up with my brush and sometimes use a paper towel or something. But it will all work together in the end. All right, now I'm going to add a little of my lighter purple again. Let me check my caps, make sure this is my lighter one, because I want to get a little more of this up in here. Maybe add a little more orange, but I think it's looking really pretty. Just soften that. And no two will ever look alike, which is also fun. So each one is an original, which I think is really fun. And then I'll show you the difference between the one I made earlier and the one I'm making with you guys. Now you'll see I'm adding a little water here because I got kind of a little line. I'm just softening it out. Okay, now we'll do the stem. And I'm going to use 2 colors of green for the stem. All right, what do you think so far? You guys like it? Am I getting too close there? See the variation in those petals? I think that's looking really pretty. So I'm going to pull over 2 different greens, and oh, I'm so glad you guys like it. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the hearts, guys. Oh, thank you for the hearts with the little stars too. Those are awesome. Okay, so I'm going to use 2 colors of green, a yellow green, the yellow green, and the mid green. So I'm going to start off with my brighter and lighter color green. And I'm going to just really go right into this stem. Oh, thank you. And I am just going to color this thing all the way in because I want that brightness in here. And I'm going to color the leaves around my bud here. I'm so happy I made this Poppie stamp. I've been wanting to do a flower set for so long, and I love poppies, so I thought this would be the perfect one. So I'm going to add a little of this green in here. I'm also going to pull in just a little of that orange into my leaves. Let's see, is this the orange I want? That's bright yellow. Let's see, orange, orange, where are you? Because now we learned it was the orange I liked. Okay, so I'm going to spread this around in this leaf here. And I find I like a real brush sometimes as opposed to the brushes that come with, that you have the water in them, just because I feel like you get a little more control of your water. A Gerber daisy stamp. Not yet, but it is in the works. This is our first really large flower stamp. We have like a small daisy stamp that's in our Happy Mail set. Let's see if I have one here that I can show you. I have this one here. It's like a daisy, but it's just a real simple flower. And this is in our Happy Mail set, which Heidi, this one's coming to you. And then there's like a little daisy here, but you can put the stem and make a full daisy out of this stamp if you want to. And we've made some fun cards with that one. Okay, I'm going to dry this just a little bit. Oh, I'm so glad you're excited, Heidi. Okay, let's see. We are almost done here. And I got a fun little trick that I discovered you could do with these zig markers also. All right, I don't need to dry it all the way. And I can see I got out of here a little out of my, I add a little water because I got a little green out there. Now I'm going to add just a little of this orange to my leaf here, but really tiny bit. Oh, I'm so glad you think it looks real. Yeah, I was kind of going for a little bit of a more realistic flower for the Poppie. And I'm putting a little of this orange into the leaf because they always seem to have a little yellow or a little orange in the leaves. Maybe I'll put a little of our yellow as well. Yeah, bright yellow. I'll grab a little yellow, add a tiny bit of that in there, and just spread that around because our leaves always have variation in them. Okay, now I'm going to add a little of the darker green. And I'm just going to run it just kind of along this edge here. Oh, thank you, Laura. And I'm going to just kind of give it a little shadow. Maybe run a little this darker through the mid. Here, this is the mid-green they call it. And I think this has a nice leafy color to it, this green. Now I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water and spread that mid-green around just to give it a little more definition and blend it through. Okay, I think that looks really pretty. What do you guys think? Like it? And then you can see here, like here's where I was talking about, like a little water spot right here. I'm just gonna blend it in just a little bit to get rid of any harsh lines. Oh, thank you. I do sound a lot better, don't I? I am getting much, much better. Okay, now here's the fun little trick that I discovered while doing this other one is I wanted to put a sentiment right here, but I kind of wanted it to look, oh, I make it look easy. Oh, I'm so glad. It really isn't that hard to do. You just got to take the time to practice a little bit. Let's see, let me zoom out just a little bit here while we do this part. Let's see, yeah, zoom out. There we go. Get all this, whoops, I just knocked it with my elbow. Okay, so what I found is we're going to put our little sentiment on our card. And let's see, I'm just going to put my magnet on. So this doesn't move too much, or it doesn't move at all, right? Okay. And this one says sending hugs. Let's see, sending hugs. Which way does it go? Okay. And I'm going to put that right here. And of course, again, you could just use a stamping block to do this, but I just like using the Misty for sentiments, especially because I tend to push way too hard when I stamp sentiments. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another piece of paper here because I'm going to stamp off on this one. What we're going to do, can you see this side? Let's see. I'm going to take that deeper purple Zig Clean brush marker. This is a deeper one. And I'm actually going to, instead of inking this up, I want it to have this a similar color, the same color in my sentiment that I have in my Poppie. So I take this marker and I'm just going to draw or color right on here. Now you could do 2 colors on here if you wanted. And it's going to put a lot on, so that's why I'm going to stamp it off first to make sure that it's not too thick. But you can actually stamp with this, and it'll look like you painted it. And that's how I did this one here. See how that kind of looks painted? Isn't that neat? But it's by using, and so first I'm going to stamp it off like this, just to get a little of the excess off. But it could have worked just like that. And now I'm going to actually stamp it down on my card. And let's see, of course I can always add again, and that's what's nice about using this or your little CD case. Oh, I think it's perfect. But then you have, oh, thanks for joining. Isn't that awesome? Look at it, looks like I painted it now rather than using an ink, because it just has that more painterly. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like it's more painted because it has a little more variance in the color as if you used a brush to paint it on. And I think that it goes really nice then with the card with this look. So yeah, you can take these and draw right on your stamp. Has anyone tried that yet? I just kind of thought of it the other day, or earlier today, I came up with giving that a try, and I think that it worked really well. Isn't that neat? Yeah, it fits with the card nicer. I think just because it has a very watercolor look to it. And that's why I wanted to try it, because I thought instead of using inks, I wanted it to match my flower. Yeah, it gives a little more artsy feel. So if you're looking for a really crisp sentiment, you probably want to use your inks. But if you kind of want to have like a little, like you painted it or an artsy feel, then try this with your stamps. And maybe, I'll try some more things with it where maybe you could take it and put it, say, on the flower stamp or something like that on some of this and do different things with it. Black ink, it isn't always the best matching. Yeah, it doesn't always match the card designs the best. Now, the next thing I did with mine, yeah, long time no scope. Exactly. It's because I was so sick. We celebrated our anniversary. Then I was working on, catching up on everything because I was away for a week. And then then all of a sudden I got so sick I couldn't scope at all. It was crazy. Have ink stamps with these markers. Great look. Yeah, the ink stamps work really good. So I'm going to take a little Wink of Stella now, and I'm just going to put it into my petals. You could, leave it just like that if you want, but I thought, I love how when you have a card and it has some pretty sparkle to it, and the Wink of Stella is perfect to put in the petals of your flowers. I just think it gives it that extra little touch. And then maybe tomorrow we'll make a card with this one. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like it. But I thought it'd be fun to show you guys some techniques using these clean brush markers. And so when I use that, I do it puts a little color onto your Wink of Stella. So just going between I didn't want to get any pink in my green, so I dabbed it off a little before going into my green. You love your Wink of Stella? Is that what you're saying? Wink of Stella is awesome, isn't it? Or then, the Spectrum Noir has a real nice one as well. Oh yeah, the markers. The markers are fantastic because you can do so many fun things with them, and then you don't use that much ink with it either. So there you go. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let me get this back to our whole screen. There we go. So here's the one that we created together right now. And this is the one I created a little earlier. And so you can see this one has like a little softer feel to it. This one's just slightly darker, but they're pretty similar, I would say. You can't tell too much of it. This one has a little more orange in it, but that's what's fun, is they're always going to be, original. They're going to be a little bit different, each one that you make. Oh, thank